guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be all about the dark side of Hollywood. I think that this is such an interesting topic because obviously there are a lot of conspiracy theories floating around about what actually goes on in Hollywood. There's a lot of famous people who have spoken out about it, and I really just wanted to kind of deep dive in for this video. Some of this video is going to contain some dark stuff. We're going to kind of start off on the lighter, I guess, note, and then go into the darker conspiracy theories surrounding what actually goes on in Hollywood. Conspiracy theories is such a light term because I'm pretty sure a lot of this stuff is true, allegedly. Let's get into it. The first dark aspect of Hollywood that I really want to talk about, it's like I said, on a kind of lighter note, I mean it's still pretty bad, is the paparazzi. I totally understand the concept of being they chose this lifestyle. Regardless, it's not a normal thing to experience, and I feel like you truly wouldn't know what it was really like until you were in it. It's kind of one of those things that I don't even feel as though most people can speak on because it's very select to the people who get paparazzi'd very often. I think the thing that annoys me most about paparazzi is not only are they hounding the celebrities, but they are hounding the celebrity children and families. Not even child stars, children of celebrities.
Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Don't talk to me ever when I'm with my kids.
Bye. What do you think about all this paparazzi?
Shut the f up!
And I feel like this should be illegal. So many people have tried to get this to be illegal, to photograph children. I just feel like it's something that is so not normal for kids to have to deal with, and it should definitely be a rule that paparazzi can't follow celebrities around when they are with their children. People like Jennifer Garner have actually tried to fight against this because it was traumatizing her kids. It's very overwhelming, and I just feel like it's nothing that a child should have to really go through just because their parent is an actor. I also truly believe that Hollywood, the media, and paparazzi as a whole, all of these things together have definitely ruined the lives of so many stars. Watching it unfold is pretty crazy. I understand that there are so many benefits to being a celebrity, having all that privilege, all of the money, all of the connections. It's completely, I'm sure the positives outweigh the negatives of the paparazzi, but I will say I think it's fair to admit that you don't really know what that would be like until you're in that situation, and I feel like we can all agree that that would kind of suck. Having your every move followed and speculated would genuinely suck ass. I just feel like that would just be a lot. So for example, one thing that I constantly think about that would be very, very irritating to a celebrity, because I feel like this is irritating if you do any kind of social media, anything in the public eye, is that people think that they know you just because they watch your videos or your content or listen to your music. But obviously on a fucking scale of an actual celebrity, it must be excruciatingly annoying to deal with this. For example, I feel like Ariana Grande is never going to be able to do meet and greets on tour again, if she ever tours again. But on her last tour, she literally had to cancel a string of meet and greets because the meet and greets were too much for her, because people kept asking her about Mac Miller, which I think is so insane that a fan of her would feel the need to talk to her about him. I just think that's overstepping so many boundaries. But the thing is that people do it every day, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to lose such an important person in your life, but then also have everyone having their own opinions on it because they come up to you at your own meet and greet and talk to you about it. That is so abnormal. I feel like we've gotten to the point where, we expect these celebrities to just have to deal with it because they chose this life. See, in my head, I'm I feel like anyone with a heart would never even think to speak to Ariana about Mac because it's such a sensitive subject. So many people did, and so many people probably still do, and I just think that's insane. I really don't get it. I understand that as a fan of someone you can feel super connected to them, but at the end of the day, they don't know you, and it's weird to talk to them about stuff that's super personal and super traumatic and terrifying. And I think that that would actually be, over paparazzi, the biggest drawback of being a celebrity, is for sure the idea that people think that they know you when they don't. They just know your content and whatever that is. But yeah, overall, I think that people assuming that they know you would be frustrating, especially on a large scale. It's even annoying in your daily life. Think about all of the times that you've experienced someone, having an opinion of you, but they don't even fucking know you. If it's just someone from a friend group or whatever. I feel like we've all experienced the concept of being perceived by people that we don't know, and I just think that it would be very, very frustrating on a giant scale. But then again, you could be like, who cares? I can buy anything that I want. I can live comfortably and overly comfortably. I think from Elvis to Marilyn Monroe, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, all of these people have had so many struggles in front of the public eye, and I do feel like being in the media and being in the public eye genuinely led to their death. The most prevalent example of this that I have seen is Amy Winehouse, for sure. Amy wasn't really someone who was kind of built for fame. Not that I really think anyone can truly be built for that, but I do believe that she specifically really wasn't. She never really wanted to be famous. She wanted to be a singer. So obviously Amy went through a very, very dark time in her life around 2007 to 2010. She was having this very difficult time super publicly. Instead of the media being very sensitive, people were making fun of her, tabloids were bullying her essentially, and I just feel like this would exacerbate the problem a lot. It would suck to be going through a hard time, but then to see all these tabloids like pretty much making fun of you and talking about how you're a druggie and just saying mean things about something that's like literally a mental illness. Like, this is something that she was going through, was really hard for her. I just think that that would really, really suck. Amy was also someone who was like hounded by paparazzi at this point. Like, imagine being at one of your lowest points in life and struggling so hard with something. Then is when everyone is interested in you and wants to follow you and wants to take pictures of you and sell these photos for thousands of dollars just because they're pictures of you doing badly. Like, it's just a fucked up concept. If overall, I feel like that's undeniable. Many people close to Amy and even a lot of her fans believe that the paparazzi and the media definitely contributed to her death. And I feel like that's 100% true. I feel like the pressures of fame leads people to get into drugs and alcohol super often. It's at this point undeniable that it's just a part of the Hollywood scene. It's a part of like being a celebrity, is having these, you know, drugs being introduced to you. I do feel like it is literally killing people, and that is really scary. I think the next concept I really want to talk about is the concept of child stars as a whole, especially because we see someone who was basically raised in the public eye. A lot more times than not, these people struggle with drug and alcohol addiction. The connections are that they grew up in this public eye with the media and everybody watching them. So obviously there is a connection. One thing that's generally bad about Hollywood is definitely the exploitation of children and child stars, and the whole concept of it in general is very weird to me. Over the years, we've seen so many child stars go through so many of their formative years in the public eye, which definitely, like I said, leads to drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and even just trauma overall. I think one of the more interesting topics and interesting people that I like to talk about when I talk about the dark side of Hollywood is Dan Schneider. Dan was the creator of so many of your favorite Nickelodeon shows, from All That to The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, iCarly, Victorious, and many more. I feel like being on Nickelodeon or Disney as a kid is the dream. Like, that's something that you just want to do. It is so interesting to see the back end of it, especially after reading Jeanette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. Very eye-opening to what was actually going on behind the scenes, because it seemed much less like a dream and more like a nightmare. Jeanette's book goes into detail saying that Dan would give the kids alcohol to drink, even though they were under the age of 21, which is obviously pretty bad, but also he would have a crazy temper and yell at the children. He talked bad about his clients to his other clients, which I really don't like when people do that. I've seen many managers do that in just the YouTube business, and it rubs me the wrong way every time. A lot of kids on these Nickelodeon sets apparently really experienced a really traumatic situation regarding this creator of these shows, because Jeanette talked about it, and she said that she was offered $300,000 to never speak about Dan again, which is insane. I think that's so crazy that she was essentially offered hush money, allegedly. I also think it's important to note that in 2018, he had to step down because of the claims that he was verbally abusive towards them. And I just think that that would be very, very hard to be in a scenario as a kid, get your dream job, you're on TV, you have your own TV show, and then have to experience, you know, the creator of the show really indicating that you are replaceable and talking shit about his other clients and the other actors. I just think that would be really, really hard to deal with as a kid. It would be really hard to move past that experience as an adult, like having that as a kid. I just think that it's really, really interesting to talk about because obviously Dan is probably one of the most well-known childhood show creators. It is so crazy to think that that was what's going on behind closed doors, allegedly. People believe that this kind of trauma was thrust upon other stars of Nickelodeon, like Amanda Bynes, and that was the reason that she struggled later in life. And I do think that that is definitely a possibility. I feel like always having to compete and compare yourself to other people would be super overwhelming, but also having someone who you're supposed to be able to trust and who's giving you a show, they're giving you this amazing opportunity, you feel like you owe them. Having them talk badly to you about other people in your cast or even about you, making you feel replaceable, I just think would be really, really hard to deal with. We're gonna take it back in time and talk about some of the traumatic things that some child stars have gone through. And I really want to touch on Drew Barrymore. I think that her story paints such a disgusting picture as to what children have to go through in Hollywood. So Drew Barrymore began acting at 11 months old. She's still continuing to be in the spotlight today, so I feel like she has a very well-rounded experience of the industry. Drew was really thrust into the Hollywood scene. Born in Los Angeles, her parents were actors, her grandparents were actors. It was just kind of in the family. In 1982, Drew was famously in the movie E.T., and this really skyrocketed her career. On November 20th of 1982, Drew hosted Saturday Night Live, making her the youngest person ever to host SNL. She was only 7 years old. While Drew's career was booming, her personal life was headed in a very scary direction. According to Drew's autobiography, Little Girl Lost, her mother, Jade Barrymore, reportedly escorted Drew to several Hollywood parties and nightclubs all over Los Angeles and New York City. Drew began drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes at the age of 9 years old, which is absolutely insane. She began smoking pot at age 10 and doing cocaine at 12, and by the time she was 13 years old, she was already checked into a rehab facility. I just think it is so insane that nobody said anything or did anything and thought it was weird that a 9-year-old was at these high-profile clubs like Studio 54. No one was batting an eye, which is crazy. The worst thing is that Drew claims that the adults around her really perpetuated the idea that drugs and alcohol were a normal thing in Hollywood and that everything around her was normal. Obviously, she was a child, so she was very impressionable and just thought this was a normal thing to do. Luckily, Drew got clean, and when she was 15 years old, she was emancipated and she moved into her own apartment in West Hollywood.
Part of the problem sounds like that you grew up too soon.
At first, I really didn't know the difference. I was like 6 years old, hanging out with a bunch of 25-year-olds. I liked being around older people. I felt like I could relate to them better.
Why?
Just because they were more experienced. You know, I didn't want to go off and play Barbies. I wanted to go out to a club and dance.
Worked at a coffee shop for a bit, but then she really wanted to act again. That was truly what she loved doing, so she went back to it, and I'm really happy for her that she enjoys it, even though she had such a crazy childhood experience in the industry. I just think that it is so insane that that was happening to one of the most popular childhood stars at that time. This is the 1980s. E.T. was the highest grossing movie that year. Everyone knew who she was, and it is really, really scary to think that they would see her at a club and not think that that was wrong. These were adults that were giving her alcohol and drugs. It's not like she was getting it from other children. She was getting these drugs and this alcohol from adults, and that is so terrifying. I feel like no one even understands how bad that actually is. Why was that going on? Honestly, I would say the only way for a child actor or child star in general to survive in Hollywood without having extreme trauma is if they have good parents who like are very aware of what's going on with their children. Because if they have parents who do not care, like Drew's parents, who would bring her to these fucking nightclubs and parties and let her drink and do drugs. That's insane. That is so insane. Like, how are you gonna sell your kid out so much? Like, that is so bad. Someone else in Hollywood who had a similar experience, but a very, very traumatizing, and they have talked so much about this experience, is Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman claims that being famous and young caused so much trauma to him. Corey Feldman claims that him and his friend Corey Haim were two children who were abused by adults in Hollywood. Corey Haim actually really sadly passed away in 2010. He had a long time struggle with drugs, and Corey Feldman claims that it's because of the trauma that he faced as a child. Corey Feldman did a very chilling interview speaking about his experience in Hollywood.
There was a circle of older men that surrounded themselves around this group of kids. And they all had either their own power or connections to great power in the entertainment industry.
And it's widespread?
Oh yeah. I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded. Literally. Didn't even know it. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me till I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
Corey Feldman claims that he endured sexual, emotional, and physical abuse during his time in Hollywood as a child actor, which is literally so heartbreaking. But he claims that this is a way bigger problem than what people are talking about. Corey Feldman claims that in 1993, the police brought him in because of his friendship with Michael Jackson. He claims that Michael Jackson never sexually abused him or any type of abuse towards him. He instead gave the names to the police of the people who abused him. He said, these are the people in the industry who have abused me. Like, this is the name. They molested me. That is where you need to look, because this is a huge problem in Hollywood. And it's happening to children. This is someone who's giving them a name, and the police ignored it. And Corey Feldman claims it's because all they wanted was dirt on Michael Jackson because they wanted him to go to jail. What I do think is suspicious about that is that Michael Jackson is someone who has spoken out against the industry as a whole. I just think it's interesting that the police wouldn't care. This other person who Corey is giving the name of, saying that he is an abuser, they don't care because it's not Michael Jackson. I just think that's really strange. I do sadly think that Corey's experience is something that has happened to a lot of children in Hollywood, and I feel like it's definitely something that people need to talk about. It's something that Corey has been trying to speak out about, and he claims that he has almost been killed because of this. Corey genuinely believes that someone tried to run him off the road after he spoke out against who he claims was his abuser. And he believes there are people protecting his abuser, which I think is true as a general statement. I would say in a lot of scenarios, there are people who are protecting people in Hollywood to an extent that is really, really bad. You can refer to them as the industry, you can refer to them as the Illuminati, however you want to call it, but I do think that there are a group of people who are genuinely so above the law that it is really concerning. I think the concept that these people are murdering celebrities who speak out against the Illuminati is not stupid. Like, I think that that is a possibility, allegedly. I will say Illuminati rumors have definitely skyrocketed over the past few decades, especially with social media. Dates back because Michael Jackson is definitely someone who spoke out against it, and people like even his daughter Paris and LaToya Jackson, his sister, claim that he was murdered.
This was definitely something that was premeditated, that they had planned to do, and they planned to take my brother out, and my brother knew it, and that's why he told me repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly that this was going to happen to him.
I don't know, kind of scary. Is it a coincidence? Possibly, but I definitely think that there are very dark things going on behind closed doors in Hollywood, and I don't really think that it's the, you know, everyday actors that you hear of. It's more so the producers, the, you know, casting couch is like a real thing. I do think that the Illuminati is real. I don't really think they call themselves the Illuminati. I just think it's a group of people who are above the law. Like, they have connections on connections with the LAPD, probably every police department actually. It's just corrupt. Like, it's all corrupt basically is what I'm saying, and these people are highly above the law. To me, the concept that scares me is billionaires, people who have endless money, and you could say like Jeff Bezos, like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, but you know those people, you see them. I'm talking about the people who are faceless. The faceless billionaires is a terrifying concept because these are people who have so much money and power and we don't even know who the fuck they are. One of the darkest sides of Hollywood is that so many of these abusers and the people who are doing the most terrible things that you can think of will never get in trouble for it, and that is something that is very terrifying. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any thoughts on the dark side of Hollywood. As much as, like I said, being a celebrity has its perks, for sure. I'm not denying that. Being that rich, having that many connections would be amazing. It definitely is a scary industry overall, and there's definitely some dark shit that probably we can't even fathom is going on. That is it for today's video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Subscribe for new videos every week, and I will see you guys later. Bye.